to SDL2 on Xcode tutorial. In this third episode, we are going to use SDL2 GFX library to draw the geometry objects in the second row here. Let's go to the main function. In the main function, we changed the game engine from episode 2 to episode 3. And we also changed the title of the window, changed the height from 200 to 400 because now we have two rows. If we look at the definition of episode 3, it is actually a subclass of episode 2. We only override one function, the draw function. Inside the definition of the draw function, we first call the code from the episode 2. The code from episode 2 guarantees we have a white background here, like this, and the 3 vertical green lines, also the objects in the first row. That's the code from episode 2. Now, in episode 3, we first need to draw the horizontal separator to separate this first and the second row. And in each cell here, we need to call some function to draw the corresponding object. So let's start with the code. Now you can see here that we draw the horizontal green line using the SDL render draw line function. We did it last time, so I'm not going to go over it again. Next, the important thing is that we use now the SDL2GFX function. The first one we use is the thick line RGBA function. It takes a lot of parameters, but they are not hard to understand. The first argument is the renderer we would like to draw our thick line on. The first pair of number, 50, 50 here, is the first coordinate of the starting point. Remember, since we use the SDL render set viewport, this coordinate is relative to the rectangle defined here. And the second pair of integers here is the endpoint of our thick line. The 10 here represent the width of our line, and the last 4 components are the R, G, B, A component, which represent a color. So that will give us the thick green line. You can find the GFX function are quite descriptive. For example, here in the second cell, we are going to use the circle RGBA to draw a pink circle, just like this. And correspondingly, we use the fill ellipse RGBA and the rounded rectangle RGBA to draw the fill ellipse and also the rounded rectangle. This set of functions ends with RGBA. There is an alternative version of them which ends with color. So there's a thick line color version of this thick line RGBA function. All these functions are quite easy to use, and it is not hard. I guess the most important thing in this episode is how can we use this framework into our project. To do so, we need to go to the SDL2GFX authors webpage. I am going to include this webpage in the description of the video below. Now, we need to download the source code here. The current version is 1.0.4. We download it and then unzip the tarball. Once we get the folder, that will give us the source code of the SDL2GFX. Unfortunately, there's no framework readily provided to us, so we need to build it on our own. Here in the source code, there is a Xcode zip file. It includes the Xcode project for us to build the framework on our own. So we need to open this SDL2GFX project and then click the Run button or the Build button to build a framework. After we build it successfully, we can find the framework in the product folder. Let's go to the folder and see the framework. We click the derived data and then SDL2GFX build products, and inside this debug folder lies our desired framework. We need to put this framework into our system. To do so, go to the library frameworks. You can see that here, the path of this folder is your HD driver, library, and then the frameworks. You can see that I have already installed the SDL2 GFX framework in my system. If you do not have it, all you need to do is to drag this folder here all the way up to the folder here. So that's how you install the framework into your system. After we have it in our system, we need to include it in our project. To do so, let's go back to our SDL tutorial project. We need to go to the build phrase setting and then link the binary with libraries. Click the Add button here, Add Other, Add Files, navigate to the framework folder here, and then click the SDL2 GFX framework and click Open. That will include the framework into our project, but that's not enough. Make sure that in the General tab, you will have your SDL2 GFX framework embed and signed. And that will successfully include the framework into our project. In order to use it, we need to include the corresponding header file. So I do so in this SDL HPP file. I put all the SDL related handlers into this SDL HPP file for my convenience. You can see that in the engine.hpp, I include SDL.hpp. It is convenient because later on, I'm going to include more SDL2 related handlers in here. Now, the set we're using in the tutorial, for example, the thick line RGBA, the circle RGBA are all included in this SDL2 GFX and SDL2 GFX primitives.h. And unfortunately, for the GFX function, they are not documented in the header file, so you can see no quick help or documentation in the quick help panel. But we can go to the documentation online. You can find the documentation in here. You click it, that will bring you to the Doxygen generated documentation. Now, we use this SDL2 GFX primitives.h. Click it, that will bring you to a set of functions. You can see that we use, for example, the rounded rectangle RGBA. So click it, that will bring you to a detailed description of the function. And also, above the RGBA version, you see the color version of the same function. Basically, all this color function did, all this function does, is to combine the RGBA 4 components into one 32-bit unsigned integer like this, and in this format. So I find this set of GFX function quite convenient. And now you learn how to embed the GFX framework into your project. You should be able to use it now. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you soon.